plant anatomy and plant physiology. So I've split the lesson into two parts. The first half will going with the plant anatomy. The content of the lessons are introduction, further of plant anatomy, biography, levels of organization, cells, tissues, types of tissues, type of tissues based on the cell divisions, meristematic and the permanent. Next, we'll be learning about the tissues based on the position: epidermal tissue, ground tissue, vascular tissue, and vascular tissue consists of xylem and the phloem together makes up the vascular bundle. The next topic would be types of vascular bundle: radial, collateral, concentric. And the 11th topic is anatomy of Dicot root, anatomy of monocot root, and differences between the two roots. Then 14th topic will be anatomy of Dicot stem, monocot stem, and difference between them. And the last part would be anatomy of Dicot leaf, monocot leaf, and the difference between them. Hope you will enjoy all these topics. Keep learning. Plant anatomy was formulated by the person called Nehemiah Grew. Nehemiah Grew is called the father of plant anatomy. He is an English botanist and is the only son for his parents, Obadiah Nehemiah. He was born in 26 September 1641 and he died on 25th March 1712. His contribution is great in the field of biology. He is a non-conformist divine person. In 1682, he wrote 4 books called Anatomy of Vegetable Begun, Anatomy of Roots, Anatomy of Trunks, and Anatomy of Leaves, Flowers, Fruits, and Seeds. Linnaeus named a genus of tree Grevia to honor this Nehemiah Grave. He is also considered to be the pioneer of dactyloscopy, that is to read about the ridges and furrows in palms, that is finger. Understand what is plant anatomy. We must know what is plant anatomy. Plant anatomy is a branch of science which deals with the study about the internal organs. A plant consists of various tissues present inside. It is a study of plant tissue and cells in order to learn more about the way the organisms are constructed and how they work. In a very shorter form, plant anatomy is known as phytotomy. It is study of internal structure of plants. Why do we need to study about plant anatomy? These studies are very important because they lead to a better understanding of how to care for plants and fight against diseases. So this is the main thing. We need to understand what is plant anatomy. Then 2 ways it can be taken up. One is the study about the external organ. We need to understand every organism is not just a magical appearance. It has its own beginning. It starts with the small atom, then moves on to the molecules. The molecules confines itself to form the cells, cells into tissues, tissues into organs, organs into body system into organisms, organisms they grow to form the population with the non-living things forms a community, and then the biosphere. This is common. This is the same method for both the plants as well as the animals. It starts with the basic molecules, basic atoms, then it forms its own biosphere. If you take human being, it starts with a small atom, molecule, cell organelle, cells, tissues, organs, organism, population, and it combines with an environment to make up the biosphere. Similarly, for the plants too, atoms and molecules, they collide to form the cells into tissues into organ into organ system, and finally a plant, a tree is formed. So the hierarchy would be from atom, molecules, organelles, cells, tissues, organ system, organisms, population, community, ecosystem, biome, and finally the biosphere, our earth. In this lesson we'll be discussing about how this organ and organ system are formed in the plants. The system starts with the cell. Cell is considered to be the basic functional unit of every living organism. These cells, they join together form the tissues into organs, and the organs, they form the system, and finally leading to a plant. A plant is consisting of different parts. The cell in Latin is considered to be a basic structural, functional and biological unit of all living organism. A cell is the smallest unit of life. You can see the plant cell picture over here. This plant cell is not of same material. You can find different organelles present inside. So cell consists of various organelles. These cells, they unite to form the next level called the tissues, are formed by combinations of the cells. What is plant tissue? It is a collection of similar cells performing an organized function for the plant. This plant tissue is divided basically into meristematic tissues and permanent tissue. Meristematic tissues are continuous state of cell division. As a result, they refer to living tissues containing undifferentiated cells that are building blocks of all specialized plant structures. They keep on dividing again and again. An organism consists of various parts: root, trunk, leaves, branches, and these parts in turn consist of cells. Cells of similar character, similar structure, they unite to form the tissue. Tissues, they unite themselves and forms as a tissue system. The plant tissue is divided into meristematic tissue and the permanent tissue. The meristematic tissues are mostly present at the tip of the stem and tip of the root. They are in continuous state of cell division, increasing the length of the plant and dividing again and again. You can watch that in the video. Type of tissue is called the permanent tissue. It is those tissues that contain non-dividing cells. They are also modified to perform special functions in the plants. This permanent tissue do not undergo cell division. To perform various functions like absorption of water, transportation of water, and for the growth and reproduction, the plants modify their structure and become as a permanent tissue, where they stop cell dividing but instead they keep functioning physiologically. We call it as permanent. These tissues, they group themselves to do various activities. The permanent tissue is divided into simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. Simple permanent tissues, they look of one kindness. They are of a simple tissues. For example, parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. The next type is permanent complex tissues. This permanent complex tissue is type of a The complex tissue here consists of two or more dissimilar types of cells. They are not of the same type but different kinds of cells unite themselves. For example, phloem and the xylem. Xylem is an element used for conduction of the water. It consists of tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem phloem. Different cells join themselves to form the xylem tissue and help in the conduction of the water. Similarly, phloem helps in the transportation of food material. It is made up of different types of cells called sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem fiber, phloem parenchyma. They join together to performing the uploading of food. Classified plant tissues into epidermal tissue, ground tissue and the vascular tissues. The epidermal tissue is considered to be the outermost layer and the ground tissue forms the middle layer and the vascular tissues along with the xylem and phloem forms the innermost layer. Epidermal tissue will be the outermost layer for all the root, stem and in the leaf. All parts of the plant consist of epidermis. It is the outermost layer made up of single row of cell. You can find that in the picture. A single row of cell is present which is arranged one after the another without intercellular space. The main function of epidermis is to protect the inner tissues. This epidermis in the leaf has got stomata which helps in transpiration and exchange of gas. The epidermal other outgrowths would be unicellular hairs in the stem and trichomes in the root. The root hairs are produced from these root cells. So leaf has got stomata, stem has got hair and the root has got root. Next layer would be ground tissue which is the middle layer of the organ. This ground tissue consists of the layers between the epidermis and the vascular bundle. It mostly consists of three different types of cells called the parenchyma, collenchyma and the sclerenchyma tissues. This tissue in combinations makes up the ground tissue of a root or the stem on the leaf. The main function would be photosynthesis, food storage, regeneration, support and protection. So ground tissue helps in the photosynthesis and in the food preparation. It also helps in regeneration, that is requiring of the new cells. The next tissue would be vascular tissue which is the innermost layer of the organ. The ground tissue of the plant includes the xylem and the phloem and helps in the transport of food materials. It is the innermost layer of the organelle. They consist of the important xylem and phloem tissue for conducting food and the water. The main function would be transport of food and minerals from the plant and of the plant. The types of vascular bundles would be radial, conjoint, and concentric. Radial vascular bundle consists of alternately arranged xylem and the phloem in a clockwise manner. This may be of polyarch or tetrarch. And in collateral, the xylem and phloem is present top and beneath, a phloem on the top and xylem beneath, and it consists of two types. One is open, the other one is closed. The third type is concentric, where xylem is inside and surrounded by the phloem, or phloem is present inside and surrounded by the xylem. These are the types of vascular bundles. We have learned the different types of tissues and now we are going to enter into the organ system. The root, the stem and the leaf forms the basic organ of a plant, and what are the tissues that makes up this organelle which will be discussed from now on. First we'll take up with the root. Let's learn the anatomy of a monocot root. Monocot root consists of three regions: the outer epidermis, the layer between the epidermis and the vascular bundle, the ground tissue, and the innermost layer consisting of the vascular bundle. Vascular bundle is surrounded by two layers, the outer one called endodermis and followed by the pericycle. Inside the vascular bundle, you can find the xylem elements drawn, which is arranged in the radial manner. In between the xylem elements, the phloems are drawn. This phloem helps in the conductions of the food material. This is radial arrangement of the vascular bundle. Now, the vascular bundle is ready for us to be learned. The region between the xylem and phloem is filled by the connective tissues. This connective tissues helps in the transportation and supporting. Now the epidermis and the endodermis is filled with the tissues called the ground tissue. We also call it as the cortex. Find the various parts given over there. The outer is root hair, followed by epidermis, and the region between the epidermis and endodermis is the cortex, and the outermost layer of the vascular bundle, endodermis, surrounded by the pericycle. There is an important another character called the passage cells. Let me discuss to you. The cells opposite to the xylem will not have thickenings. They will have an inlet of water to get inside. Whereas the cells opposite, no other than, are occupied by a thick layer called the Casparian strips. Anatomy of dicot root is very much similar to monocot root. It has got an outer epidermis followed by the cortex and middle vascular bundle. Here you can find the vascular bundle is looking like having four arms. The bigger cell and which is tapering towards the outer cell. The bigger cell is called the metaxylem and the smaller one is called the protoxylem. The green color structure inside is called the phloem. So phloem helps in conductions of food. The xylem and the phloem is having an yellow color tissue called the conjunctive tissues. Here the xylem is very unique, having four wings, therefore it is called tetrarch because it has got four arm-like structure radiating from the center. The vascular bundle consists of the endodermis and the pericycle. A certain region of the endodermis, you can find a thick wall present over them, especially all over the endodermis. But in the place opposite to the arms of xylem, a thickening wall will not be present, so to let in the water to come inside of the cells. This vascular bundle is radially arranged. It is exarch, that is, the center metaxylem is towards the center and the smaller one is towards radiating outside, and it has got four arms, therefore it is called the tetrarch. Let's look into the difference between dicot root and monocot root. In dicot root, it is tetrarch of xylem. In monocot, it is polyarch of xylem. In the picture, you can find many numbers of xylem alternated with many number of phloem. It is called polyarch. The second picture you will find there are four arms of xylem alternated with four arms of phloem. Therefore, it is called tetrarch. Second is they don't have cambium in them. As a result, they don't have secondary growth. And the fourth difference is pith is absent in monocot root because it is occupied by metaxylem, and pith is present in the monocot root. Discuss about the anatomy of dicot stem. Dicot stem consists of an outer layer called the epidermal cell made up of single row of cells, and beneath that you can find the endodermal cell, which is also a single row of cells called the bundle sheet. Move on to the next topic, anatomy of monocot stem. Monocot stem is entirely different from the dicot one. It has got the epidermis followed by a hypodermis. The hypodermis is made up of sclerenchyma and collenchyma. Sclerenchyma for mechanical support and chlorenchyma for photosynthesis. And the vascular bundle is found scattered in the tissue. The bigger one called the metaxylem. You can find two bigger one looking in the shape of an eye, and the smaller ones called the protoxylem. The protoxylem, they degenerate and they turn to a cavity called the protoxylem lacunae. On the top of it you find an yellow blue color tissue called the phloem, used for the conductions of the food. This entire vascular bundle is surrounded by the bundle sheath, which you can see here in the green color surrounding the vascular tissue. The protoxylem lacunae is a unique character for the monocot stem, which gives a cavity to the cell-like structure. This looks like a shape of a skull, so monocot stem is also known as skull-shaped vascular bundle. And you can find this microscopic view of the monocot stem is given here. This vascular bundle, you can find the vascular bundles are scattered. They are not arranged in a form of order. It is scattered everywhere in the ground tissue. We'll move on to the anatomy of a dicot leaf. Dicot leaf consists of two epidermis, the upper epidermis and the lower epidermis. The upper epidermis consists of cuticle on its top to prevent the transpiration. Cuticle is a type of a wax which protects the inner surface. And the lower epidermis consists of stomata, which is used for the exchange of gases to take place. In between the upper and lower epidermis is a region called the mesophyll, which is the middle part of the leaf. The mesophyll is divided into two tissues. One is called the palisade tissue. The other one is called the spongy parenchyma. Beneath the upper epidermis is the palisade parenchyma, which is compactly arranged with chloroplast in it. Above the lower epidermis is the spongy parenchyma, which is irregularly arranged without uniform package. And this is the structure of your dicot leaf. In the center you got the vascular bundle, which is conjoint, collateral and closed. Anatomy of leaf, monocot leaf looks much similar to the dicot leaf with certain dissimilarities. Let's find out the difference between them. The epidermis cells are not of uniform in shape. You can find some of the epidermis cells are bulged, elongated than the normal ones. We call such cells as the bulbil cells. The upper and lower epidermis, some cells are large and thin-walled called the bulliform cells. You can find in this picture the bulliform cells are very much enlarged. Second is the mesophyll tissue is not made up of two different types of tissues. Hence it is monocot leaf is isobilateral as mesophyll is not differentiated into palisade and spongy. It is made up of only one kind of tissue. This is the basic difference between the monocot and dicot. Other than that, they have the same kind of conjoint, collateral and closed vascular bundle.